Gia. How do you spell Gia? Gia. Let's see. C-H-E-Y? That'd be Che. Chia. C-H-E-A. Chia. Chia, man. Welcome to the Tony Scott Internet Show. What a way to start the show, huh? By asking you how to spell a stupid word. Well, that's me in a nutshell. So, hey, welcome. This is my podcast that I do. A lot of folks remember from the radio show where I covered a lot of content and played some great music. Well, this is just the content part. People have asked me, why don't you play music during your podcast outside of what you're hearing right now? This is a royalty-free track, courtesy of YouTube. But to play music, you need copyright, you need rights, permissions, things like that. And that's really expensive. And then it gets expensive as far as when you use music, the bandwidth it takes up, things like that. And, well, there are other people who do it, yeah. And most of them are cutting corners and are just waiting their turn to get caught and sued. I choose not to go down that path. So I'm at a point in my life where I'm just trying to get it done, man. That's all. You know what I'm saying? I'm an everyday guy trying to get it done. That's my lot in life right there. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. I saw this quote on Black Planet. I'm everywhere, man, on the internet, right? On Black Planet, someone said that someone told them, don't fall in love because you'll get hurt. And we've all heard that before. And their response to that comment was, well, don't live because you might die. I don't think there's a better comeback for something like that. I mean, we've all heard it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved. Things like that, you know. I don't want to fall. I don't want to get hurt. So you choose not to enjoy one of God's greatest gifts, the gift of love. Sorry about that. I have been happily married to my wife for 20 plus years. We've been together almost 30 years, and I cannot imagine my life without her. Simply put. Let's get into it. St. Louis, which is where I'm based, I don't know, we do have podcast listeners from around the world, but, you know, honestly, most of them are in St. Louis, and if you're in St. Louis, you know that we have been a city under siege. There have been 6 killings in 12 hours. 6. In 12 hours, 6 victims of gun violence in a 12-hour span. It's a problem. It's a problem. Everything from, I mean, how do you even put it in words, man? I mean, you know, somebody got shot in the chest. Now, 3 people have been arrested out of these 6 homicides. One happened 7:25 last night. Then 4 hours later, there was another one. Involved a fist fight at somebody's girlfriend's house. That left the apartment complex, and then there was some shooting going on. 15 minutes later, 2 men were shot and killed during an attempted robbery on Osage Street. Man. And then what happened overnight at the Drury Inn? Right there at 44, right off of Hampton, right? A 50-year-old man, the night manager, was shot in the head and killed. That suspect, they actually have, man, pretty good video of him. And I would imagine it may just be a matter of time before he's picked up, because they got really good pictures of that suspect with the gun in his hand. I was like, wow, we have lost our minds, man. But you know, we want to defend our rights to bear arms. This is where the NRA, I think, gets it. With all due respect to them, this is where the line gets blurred. I respect their rights, and I think everybody understands the right to bear arms, right? We understand that. To legally possess arms. Legally is the key word here, right? If you legally have a weapon, no one has a problem with you. No one has a problem with you. It's these random guns that are in the streets that have bodies attached to them. Therein lies the problem. And I've talked to somebody with the NRA before. They don't want to hear it, though. They don't want to hear it. And I respectfully disagree with that angle. You know? But I just think there's a lot of middle ground there. And part of the argument that I got from this particular person, who's a member of the NRA, but not necessarily was a spokesperson for the NRA. It's like me working for a radio station, but not being a spokesperson for the radio station. There's a big difference. But he was saying that if we give an inch, you'll take a yard. And so we won't give an inch. And therein lies part of the problem. Part of the problem. You can't put these murders, 159 murders in St. Louis last year. And only 30%, a little over 1/4, a little over a quarter were actually solved. What does that mean? That means people ain't talking because they fear for their lives. That's what it means. I mean, really, that's exactly what it means. So here we are with killings, 6 killings in 12 hours. 6 victims of gun violence in 12 hours. Man, pray for their families, pray for each other. Usually, crimes like this, bunches like it happens when in the summertime when it's hot, people lose their patience. But it's the middle of winter, man. It's the middle of winter, and it's January, and we are losing our collective minds. Oh, man, it's frightening. Hey, Southwest Airlines got fined $1,600,000 for keeping passengers trapped on the tarmac for hours at Midway Airport in Chicago. This happened in January of 2014. The airline did not clear 16 aircraft off the runway in a timely fashion, according to the Department of Transportation, because regulations require flyers must be let off a plane within 3 hours of landing. So if a plane lands, you got 3 hours to get them off the plane. Did you know that? I didn't know that. And apparently, they were on the tarmac for way longer, I guess, than 3 hours. Of course, Southwesters were disappointed that the government would seek additional money from us. It was a winter storm, was a major factor. But you got 3 hours, man. Seems like the passengers, that would be like a huge priority to keep this from happening. So Southwest got caught for, I don't know. I wonder what the reason was. I mean, surely you in the wintertime in Chicago, you have to be prepared for a Chicago winter, everybody, airlines included, and to be able to handle a situation like this. Who dropped the ball on that? Something happened. Something really happened. McDonald's has recalled 1 million chicken McNuggets for what is being called on certain blogs the grossest reason ever. I don't know, man. Let's see. This apparently is in Japan. So this is a whole different thing. Am I right? They pulled out nearly 1 million nuggets from the factory in one day because the customer found plastic fragments in an order of chicken McNuggets, which were thought to have been produced at the Cargill factory in Thailand. But company spokesman says, we deeply apologize for the trouble we have caused our customers, and we are taking quick measures to analyze the cause of the contamination. But over the past year, McDonald's customers have alleged they have found a shard of a human tooth in some French fries. I mean, this is not good. What you having for lunch today? Chicken McNuggets? Okay. All right. Okay. So the Oscar nominations came out earlier. And let's see. Best Picture, Selma is nominated. Best Original Song for Glory by Common and John Legend nominated. And that was pretty much it. And a lot of people are upset because it didn't get more nominations. In fact, the latest hashtag are Oscars are white. Oscars so white. Here's the deal. This is why I could give 3 damns about who gets nominated for what. I don't really care, because to me, it's subject, unless you've seen all the movies and all the performances and everything that's been nominated, you can't really fairly comment whether one was better than the other unless you've seen it yourself. Secondly, it's in the hands of judges who it's been known for years that they don't watch all the movies. They don't watch it. They get a form, they fill it out, they send it back. You know? So why the Oscars, after all these years, still carry that kind of weight and that kind of can spark that kind of debate, anger, whatever you want to call it, it's beyond me. It just doesn't make any sense. To me, you make your vote when you pay to buy a movie ticket. This is why it's important to look at your ticket to make sure the ticket matches the movie you've given up your money for. Especially black movies. Because we all know, we've all been down that road, right? That's been going on for years where they'll sell you a ticket to, the John Legend story. Well, let me put it like this. They give you the wrong ticket. They give you a ticket for another movie that isn't black, but they'll let you in to see the black movie. It's been known to happen. It's been going on for years. There's disappointment. Sure, there's disappointment. Because, the Oscars are prestigious. I get that. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Oscars carry the weight that it carried years ago. Yeah, it still carries some weight, but I don't think it carries the weight that it carried. You know? So, to be upset about it only being nominated for 2 Oscars is just, you're wasting your time and energy on that, man. You really are. Because at the end of the day, Dr. King would have been 86 years old today. Today is actually his actual birthday. The holiday's on Monday, but today is actually the day he was born. 86 years ago. So he was 33 when he was murdered? Man, goes by fast. Goes by fast. Empire was on again for their second episode, and apparently, if you go by the week 2, their ratings are still strong. They're still strong. They averaged a 4 among adults 18-49 and a 10.3 million viewers, which was up from last week, which was pretty impressive. All right, because American Idol has lost some steam, and American Idol is the lead-in for Empire. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, can they stop with the references to President Obama in this? Because you know what, I haven't seen the second one yet. It's recorded, but the first one I saw, I didn't like it, and I said so in this podcast. And they reran it again Monday, and I watched it again. And for some reason, it seemed to be a lot better. It was the same episode, but to me, it was a lot better. But the parts where Lucius says, tell Barack, all right, this time, but this is the last time. It looked corny. It looked corny. The first week it came on, it looked corny when they reran it again Monday. They need to stop with the President Obama mentions. Leave it alone. Okay? Leave it alone. You're losing cool points. Don't do that. But it's still, to me, it's good. There's some great acting in this, okay? But it's still very stereotypical, in my opinion, of what, folks perceive black people in the entertainment business and such. It's just, to me. It's the good acting, don't get me wrong. The acting is great, but I don't know. The View is 4 months into this season, and already Rosie Perez is going to be leaving her job as the co-host. She'll be off this month. She took the entire month of January off to be in a Broadway show called Fish in the Dark, and she ain't planning on coming back. Her people saying that's not true. Rosie O'Donnell says that's not true. But apparently, she has trouble reading the teleprompter, and it's just not her thing. So apparently it's a wrap. Although Rosie O'Donnell says that's not true. We'll have to wait and see at the end of January whether Rosie Perez comes back. I don't know. If she cannot read the teleprompter, that doesn't make her inferior. That doesn't make her bad. It's just a teleprompter. They're moving words, in case you don't know. When I do my videos, sometimes I use a teleprompter. This is not a teleprompter. This is the audio, so I don't need a teleprompter. But I do use a teleprompter sometimes. And it takes a while to get used to that. And, if you've never had to deal with one or dealt with one on a very, very, very limited basis, and all of a sudden you're on national TV with a teleprompter in front of you, it takes a minute to get a hold of that. And maybe she just feels like, you know what, I don't need this. Okay, that's cool. Omarosa will say what she got to say to stay relevant, won't she? She was on Access Hollywood talking about her man that she loved dearly, Michael Clark Duncan. She was talking about the new season of Celebrity Apprentice, her work with St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and time she spent working with Bill Cosby. She says she worked for Bill and Camille at the National Visionary Leadership Project. And she was asked, did you ever see anything, hear anything? And Omarosa's response was, now, they make you sign a document the size of a phone book, so I signed a document. I can never talk about my days at the Cosby's Foundation. I have a huge non-disclosure there, but if I didn't, I have lots of stories to tell. And didn't happen to me, let's be clear, but yeah, the things I've seen. She says, I wasn't surprised at the allegations. All right, okay, now let's just rewind this for a minute, okay? Omarosa knows how to play the game. She knows when there's a bite on her hook, she knows how to reel it in, okay? So for her to say that, you have to put it through the BS meter, and I got to call BS on that. Trying to stay relevant. They know she worked for the Cosbys. They know she has something to say, and she skirts around it behind a non-disclosure by teasing, yeah, I got stories to tell. She ain't got nothing to tell. Hush. Hush, woman. Hush. Hirsch, as they used to say back home. Hirsch your mouth. Speaking of the Cosby thing, there's a model named Chloe Goins. Her and her attorney turned up at the LA Police Department headquarters, according to TMZ, preparing to file charges of sexual assault. Not rape, but sexual assault. Now, in California, the statute of limitations on sexual assault, except for rape, is 6 years. And what this woman's alleging happened more than 6 years ago, so I don't know why. I don't know how she can file charges, because there's nothing to file because you took too long. She says that she's a model turned lap dancer. She says she was 18 when it happened. And she says something was in her drink. Things got foggy. She got dizzy. She went to her room to recuperate, and she woke up with Bill Cosby licking her toes. well, isn't that special? Lady, good luck. Here's the thing, though. You see, and I'm guilty of it, too. When you hear a story from that and you find out the woman's like an exotic dancer, she's a stripper, then you're like, well, whatever. And that's just not fair. But that's what we do, right? You're in that box. You're never going to get out of that box. If you won the lottery, you would be an ex-stripper wins the lottery. Or stripper wins the lottery. That's just how we label people, and it's hard to get that label off, and we're all guilty of it, myself included. Byron Scott is an ex-NBA player who's coached in the league in the NBA for a few years now. And him and his wife were married for like 29 years, but they recently got divorced. His idea, and apparently his ex, Anita Scott, is wanting to maintain the lifestyle. All right. She says they lived in several insane places. They had an 8-bedroom place in Jersey, a 7-bedroom house in New Orleans. They had a 4-bedroom penthouse in Cleveland. She said she regularly bought clothes from Chanel, Gucci, Prada, and Louis Vuitton with no specific dollar limit. She dropped at least $600 every 6 weeks for hair, $500 a month on manis and pedis and massages, $400 a month on facials, and, quote, other personal maintenance. What, like waxing and stuff like that? You got the Brazilian? Is that what that is? The vacations? Once a year, first class, man. Bahamas, baby. Suites at the top-rated resorts. And they bring family members. So Anita says, you know what? I need spousal support ASAP because I don't have a job. And I'm in this 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath condo in Culver City, which is not what I'm used to. Quote, not comparable or comparable to the lavish and spacious homes we purchased during the marriage. The 3-bedroom crib is too small. You know, and I know there's some women, she should get what she get. Well, Let's not be crazy. Let's not lose our minds over this, okay? She's going to get what she's going to get, and it's going to be fair. But you know what? Anytime somebody gets divorced, with exceptions, few exceptions, when you average divorce out all over just the United States, people's lifestyles change. They just do. They do. You know? You're going to have to get a job. You're going to have to go to work, man. Come on, man. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do something. A judge is not just going to let you just lay up in the cut forever. Maybe after 29 years, I don't know. What am I talking about? I don't know. I've been divorced, but I was clearly, when I got divorced, I clearly was not in that, and still have never even been close to sniff that income bracket to live a life like that. God bless them. But come on, man. Stop it. The lavish thing is over. It's over. The 3-bedroom crib in Culver City, lady, go with that. This came out a couple weeks ago, but I don't know if you heard that a divorcee of a woman divorced a billionaire oil tycoon. He wrote her a check for $974.8 million. So that's $974,800,000. And she says that ain't enough. She turned it down. Her husband is Harold Hamm, CEO of Continental Resources. She wants more money because he was allowed to keep most of the $13.5 billion. So the check officially was $974,790,317.77. They were married 26 years. How do they come up with a figure like that? It has to be some kind of formula to break it down to 77 cents. $974,790,317.77. Why not just $975,000? Or I'm sorry, $975 million. If that's the case, why don't you just give her like $1 billion? Give her $1 billion, man. You got 13.5 that you're keeping. Give her $1 billion. 26 years of marriage. And that offer was promptly turned away. They were rejecting the payment because she did not want to risk the dismissal of her appeal by acceptance of benefits. Now, ladies, let me ask you. If you were divorcing a billionaire and he says, here's $974 million, go away. $974 billion. It's $974 million. You're over $750 million. $974 million and change. You gonna turn it down just because he's got $13 billion? Seriously? You're gonna turn down $974 million because he's got $13 billion? Really? Wow. That's crazy. TMZ says that Stevie J, who I told you a while back was supposed to go to rehab because he's failed 10 drug tests. How he failed 10 drug tests. If he was being tested for substance abuse and he failed it 10 times, how was he able to get out of the first 9 before they says you have to go to rehab? Usually when you fail a court-mandated drug test, you fail it once, that's it. He failed 10 times. 10 times. Well, now he's looking at 2 years in prison, not for that, but he's been indicted for failing to pay over $1 million in child support. Over $1 million. $1,107,412, according to TMZ. He won't be arraigned in New York City until February 10th. He's in the middle of doing 30 days in rehab because he kept violating probation by testing positive for weed and cocaine. I don't understand how he got away with it 10 times. Well, 9 times before they finally said enough's enough, you got to go to rehab. Why wasn't that the first time? Besides the fact that you're trying to cut him some slack, which I don't get at all, but to me it's like, why are you trying to save his life is what you're trying to do. You're trying to help him from himself, get him out of his own way. You're trying to do all this, save him from himself is what you're trying to do, and you let him mess up 9 times before you decided to do something? That's crazy. In Georgia, there's a thief that's breaking into hearses. Yeah, hearses, you transport dead bodies. And he's stealing stuff inside the hearse. Stretchers that the funeral homes use to transport the departed. 3 separate funeral homes were targeted in Gainesville, which is about 55 miles from Atlanta. One of the funeral homes had to go ahead with the funeral, even though they were short on the stretchers. It's like, wow. So what do you do with those stretchers? I mean, do you go to other funeral homes, like in other parts of the state or maybe country, and say, hey, I sell, make you a deal on, you go to funeral homes, I can make you a deal on some stretchers. You need new stretchers? Look at this one. This is the deluxe model. This one you can power down with a finger. You don't have to pump it up with your foot. They don't have any levers. It's all motor powered, up and down, up and down, up and down. Here, lay on this for a minute. How do you, even if you're a legitimate stretcher salesperson for a hearse at a funeral home, how does that work? Do you ever wonder how that works, stuff like that? Like, hey man, we've got the latest embalming fluid, man. It doesn't have odor. Okay. It doesn't burn your hand. I don't even know if embalming fluid burns your hands. I don't know, but it's great. It's odorless. In fact, it can come with different fragrances. We can make you a deal. We can get you a drum for $1,500. I mean, I don't know how that works, but do salespeople come to you like that, or with a coffin? Here we have the new XR5 model that has a built-in whatever. And do they do that, or do they just send out catalogs, or how does that work? How does stuff like that work? When I was a kid, I worked in an auto center, and I wondered how the mechanics got their tools. And there was a guy who drove by once a week, and he had like a big giant, like the size of a FedEx truck, and it was just full of tools. And he would sell them stuff, and if they needed something custom, he would get out a piece of paper and sketch it. It was crazy. I just thought they went to the hardware store and bought their tools. No, they bought them from this guy. They bought the good stuff. Not the stuff you buy. If you buy like a ratchet set from the dollar store, you might get one use out of it before the ratchet thing breaks and it just spins around like it's nothing there holding it back. You might get one use out of it. You're going to buy a ratchet set from a dollar store, you're going to get what you pay for. Am I right, or am I right? All right. I'm going to leave it right there. We're in almost a half hour already. Man, this went by fast. We do this show 4 times a week, although we only were able to do it 3 times this week. But I appreciate you so much for listening. Appreciate that. I was on Fox 2 here in St. Louis this morning with Malik Yoba from Empire, and he's going to be in town for our radiothon on Monday. The radio station, Old School 95.5, is doing a radiothon from noon to 7 on Monday, Dr. King holiday, to raise money for the businesses of Ferguson. I went to Ferguson and interviewed some small business owners, and was kind of surprised because I guess I never really thought about it, but a lot of business owners, their insurance didn't cover the damage that they got, whether it be bashed in windows or fire or whatever it was, looting, whatever, because there's a no riot clause in their policy. In other words, the riots are not covered. And I bet you most of those business owners didn't even know that until they read it when it was pointed out, no, you're not covered. Interesting. So we'll be raising money on Monday. You can go to oldschool955.com for more information. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.